one of the things that I have done personally that has really helped me is it's a tool that I call, or what John calls the 3 R's, right? So one of the things you do is you list out all of your activities, all your responsibilities, everything that you do. Mm-hmm. You take it through this grid and ask yourself 3 questions, and it's 3 R's. The first one, is this required of me? Mm-hmm. Meaning I'm the only one that can do this. I cannot train somebody else up. I can't delegate it off. So this is required of me. And then the second question is, does this give me a good return? Meaning, is this my strength zone? Am I good at this? And then the last one is, this task rewarding? So asking yourself those 3 questions, and that'll kind of give you an idea as well. And then knowing what you need to hand off and what you need to hold on to. I think the number one thing is, kind of already mentioned just a tad bit, is having a clear vision. Like, where are you going, and be very clear on that. So knowing where you're going and knowing what your values are. So having a clear vision of where you want your company to go and the values that you're going to have, what that'll do is when opportunities come, it'll allow you to say, does this match up with my vision and my values? And if not, then it's a no. And if it is, yes. It also helps during those challenging times, because, we went through last year, and, whenever anybody listens to this, anytime you go through a challenging situation or crisis, it's very easy to lose focus and get distracted. But if you have that vision, if you have those values, it makes it a little bit easier to make through those crises, because you know what's actually important and where you want to go. Yeah. What I've found is many entrepreneurs and many of us have a hard time identifying what it is we want and where it is we want to go. Yeah. Yeah. First off, thank you for allowing me to be on the podcast.
Our really pleasure.
Conversation and adding value. So that's a great question. When I was growing up, I was raised by my mom and really my grandmother, and it was me and my younger brother. And most of our dinner table conversations was probably at a fast food restaurant as we played baseball and very active in sports. So almost every night it was either some kind of sport thing where we were at a game or something like that. And that's where our dinner table was as a young kid.
What was your favorite chain? Was there anything like local, like a one that maybe people hadn't heard of that you might be able to throw out there?
We had this one restaurant I worked at that was really good. It's in a small town that I worked at. It was called Country Inn, but my favorite restaurant, fast food wise, is Chick-fil-A, right? You can't go wrong with Chick-fil-A. So.
Yep. No, absolutely. No, that's great. So did you have any influences, in the entrepreneurial realm when you were a kid? Did you have any of those influences, or were you the type of kid that just decided to go out and, give it a shot on your own? Or when did that develop for you?
Yeah. So that's another interesting question. So for me, looking back over my life, I always was thinking about business, but I always thought I was going to be a Major League Baseball player. And I never even considered what that would look like. Not that, but looking back, I had some of those skills, very entrepreneurial type skill, because we would meet on Sundays or Saturdays, a group of kids to play any kind of sport, but I was always the one heading that up. I was always the one that said, hey, we're going to play this, meet at this place. And if I didn't take that role, it never would happen. So some of those very entrepreneurial skills of being the first to act and all those kind of things were very much in me at an early age. I just didn't realize it and knew how to bottle it up and use it in the business world now. So I didn't have any of that. My mom growing up, and even our family was the whole go to school, get a good education, get a good job, stay there for 40 years. And honestly, Matt, that that makes me more sick in my stomach.
Rip your teeth out, right?
Than excited. So
So when did you make that jump into entrepreneurialism? Was it early on, after college? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So my background is actually in the medical field as a physical therapist assistant. It's not what I do now. I do leadership training and development and help other entrepreneurs and those kind of things. But when I had graduated, my wife, she was still in school. And it was one of those things where we'd be driving around town and we'd say, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, wouldn't it be cool if we had our own physical therapy clinic? Like, wouldn't it be cool if we had our own physical therapy clinic? And not only that, but where we also had a gym with it, where we could really make an impact in the lives of other people and make an impact in the community and not just do physical therapy. And it really was just a dream for a while. And then she graduated and we moved back to where we are now. And that dream kept coming back. And it was like, can we do that? Is that something we can do? And then we finally put a how in front of the can I. How can we? And we just went for it, right? We were very much ignorant in the business space, but it was an awesome learning process, an awesome growth process. And to answer your question, it was just a dream we had for a long time that we just kept coming back to and finally took action on it,
Yeah. So you did end up opening the physical therapy facility. And is that still going? Are you still, involved with that to an extent, or is that, a major part of your day?
Yeah. So what we did, so in a 5-year period of time, we built 2 physical therapy clinics, 4 gyms, had 3 kids, sold all those businesses, kept all the kids, and I transitioned to doing leadership consulting and business development, helping other leaders develop a leadership culture in their business and helping entrepreneurs get their businesses off the ground, which has been really, really awesome. My only kind of hand still in that is I built up the systems and processes, and the business is still going. I learned a lot of leadership lessons in that. One of those I'll share real quick was that when we transitioned out, the business kind of took a little bit of a nosedive.
Yeah, sure.
And one of the reasons that is because we had developed a bunch of followers, and I don't mean that as a derogatory term, but I had become the face.
Yeah.
We had built a job basically and not a business. And if I could go back, the only thing I would change was to develop more leaders, because if we would have developed leaders, that business would have never nosedived. It could have kept going. And it's now come back and is doing really good, but definitely some leadership lessons in there.
Yeah, sure. So when you're saying, that you would develop more leaders and that you were, sort of the face of the company, would you say that it would be best to, and again, I'm assuming that maybe you were in ads and all of that. Is that what you meant? Like where people walked in the door and they were expecting to see Cory sitting there. And, now they're seeing somebody else or what have you. Were you that person that was sort of always out front and you're basically saying, there should have been somebody else besides Cory, sitting out front, in all the marketing and advertising and such?
Yeah. So I was doing all things, right? All things, trying to be all things to all people. And that's one of the traps sometimes we as entrepreneurs fall into. And one of the things I had to learn is that if you have a big dream, you need a big team. And as a leader, it comes to empowering other people. See, I was holding on to the power. I love my people. I trusted my people, but I didn't believe in them enough that they could do as well as I could have. And in reality, they probably could have, and maybe even done a better job than me.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I found with doing that is I held our business back, but also held the individuals back as well by not developing them and empowering them. And just some growth that comes along with that. And I think really to answer your question, I think it goes back to what kind of business do you want to build? As an entrepreneur, maybe you do want to build a business where it is you and it's your job. You love what you do. And I've got a friend who owns a landscaping company and he loves playing in the dirt. That's what he says. He loves playing in the dirt. He wants to do the thing. But if you want to build a business, it's a little bit different as well. It's not you being all hands on all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I have another one of my mentors calls that the I'm a mentality. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do everything. So just kind of funny when you put it in that kind of language. But so now that you're in the consulting business and you're helping other entrepreneurs, create businesses, I'm assuming, you're more on the business side of things rather than creating jobs or, other things that you're married to, I guess you can say. What would you say are some of the common things that you see a lot of the entrepreneurs, sort of always taking this path, and what should be different? How should they look at things differently so that they don't go down that same path where they end up with just the job, at the end of the day?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really up front, it comes to clarifying what kind of business do you want to build, having that vision of where you want to go and what kind of business do you want to build, and having that up front. And then also, I had a mentor tell me one time is he had built multi-million dollar businesses. And his first one was a janitorial company. And one of the things he said was he fell in love with the mop. Right. Like he fell in love with the mop. Like he loved the mop. Nobody could do it as well as he could. But every time that he got on the mop, he actually took his skill set down to the level of what he could be paying somebody on that mop. So a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we fall in love with a certain aspect of our business that really we need to hand off to someone else. One of the things I like to say is, if you think about steering a ship or being on a ship, we've got to get down and swab the deck with the crew every now and then, right? We've got to get down there with them, but we can't stay there, because if we stay there, there's nobody up high enough to see upcoming opportunities and see upcoming challenges as well. So knowing that by empowering other people, it allows you to go to higher levels. John Maxwell says it like this: we don't unload so we can live a life of ease necessarily, but so we can lift heavier weights. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's one of the things you really look at, and have a really cool process of going through that too. But having a vision, and then realizing that there are some things that you just need to hand off. You know?
Exactly. Now, is there a process that you take people through to identify when would be the right time to hand off? Because I'm sure that you probably get a lot of pushback. Well, I'd love for somebody else to do this. I don't like doing it, but I can't afford to hire somebody else, or I can't, I need this machine and I can't afford the machine, or whatever it is. Any thoughts on that? How you can help people walk through that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I have done personally that has really helped me is it's a tool that I call, John calls the 3 R's. Right. So one of the things you do is you list out all of your activities, all your responsibilities, everything that you do. Mm-hmm. You take it through this grid and ask yourself 3 questions. And it's 3 R's. The first one, is this required of me? Mm-hmm. Meaning I'm the only one that can do this. I cannot train somebody else up. I can't delegate it off. So this is required of me. And then the second question is, does this give me a good return? Meaning, is this my strength zone? Am I good at this? And then the last one is, this task rewarding? So asking yourself those 3 questions, and that'll kind of give you an idea as well. And then knowing what you need to hand off and what you need to hold on to. Going to your question of when need to do that, I think you'll kind of know, and a lot of the hesitancy is on the price. When we hired our first team member, that was probably one of my most scary moments, because I was in the same thing. Do we have enough money? Can I afford this? And am I actually going to have enough work for her to do? Were kind of the questions I was asking. And all I know was I was spending so much time that our son asked me one day when I was telling him good night at 4:30 in the afternoon, "Daddy, you going to your house?" I was going back to work, right? Yeah. And that's another clue, is it taking away from the things that are important to me as well. And when we hired her, I can tell you this, Matt, that she accelerated our business. So a lot of times what looks like an expense is actually a next step of growth. Yeah. Because for us, she did some billing and actually found tens of thousands of dollars that we were not collecting, just simply because I did not have time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great way to look at it. So yeah, right there. I mean, she probably paid for herself, within a matter of weeks. So that's fantastic. Yeah. What are some of the other, I guess, frameworks or exercises that you suggest people, start evaluating or start looking at, in their company, earlier on? What are some of those things?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is kind of already mentioned just a tad bit is having a clear vision. Like,
Mhm.
where are you going, and be very clear on that. So knowing where you're going and knowing what your values are. So having a clear vision of where you want your company to go and the values that you're going to have, what that'll
Mhm.
do is when opportunities come, it'll allow you to say, does this match up with my vision and my values? And if not, then it's a no. And if it
Yeah.
is, yes. It also helps during those challenging times because, we went through last year and, whenever anybody listens to this, anytime you go through a challenging situation or crisis, it's very easy to lose focus and get distracted. But if you have that vision, if you have those values, it makes it a little bit easier to make through those crises because you know what's actually important and where you want to go.
Yeah.
What I've found is many entrepreneurs and many of us have a hard time identifying what it is we want and where it is we want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned, values. Do you coach people with setting up their core values as well in their company? I mean, is that something that you help people establish, and uh, I guess what is the result that you've seen from companies that have gone through and done that, as well?
Yeah, that's a really powerful thing. It actually is a lot of companies and individuals that I coach one-on-one are actually surprised in what their values are. And I just take them through the exercise. They're the ones that pull it out of themselves.
Yeah.
But it keeps you grounded, when even as an individual entrepreneur, even in big businesses, again, if you know what those values are, when opportunities come or challenging times come, like you said, is it a match? Does it line up? Yes, then we go this way. No.
Yeah.
It makes decision making a whole lot easier. The ones that have not done that, I've seen to have a tougher time with decision making
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
direction.
Yeah.
And if it's a big company, if the upper management or leadership has a hard time with that, you can only imagine what the frontline team members are
Yeah,
like,
going through. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now, this is something that I'm curious to see if you've done this before or not, but do you create any type of like a decision hierarchy too, where you basically you go through your list of all the different stakeholders that you either impact or are touching, so employees, if you have investors, if there's vendors, there's family, all of these different people, and you rank them. Do you create that exercise as well so that you can kind of identify, what is the most important thing, this trumps everything else, this is the most important, it's above us, it's above family, all of that. Is that another one of the exercises that you take people through?
Yeah, that's a really interesting. I honestly have never thought of it like that. And one of the things I guess that I do is with the vision statement right there, and also understanding the 80-20 rule or the
Hmm.
Pareto principle is that not all things are equal and not all people are
Yeah.
equal too whenever it comes to leadership. So kind of in a roundabout way, helping them realize what are the most I guess you say best activities to do because not all activity is accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And understanding who your top 20% of your people are too, where to spend your time at there. And I haven't thought of it in those terms. I like that though. That's
Yeah,
really
it's
good.
it's an interesting thing. Once you lay it out that way, it helps like when you with your employees as well, where they understand that, okay, this is number one. Like for us, we have a real estate investing company where we buy large apartment buildings, and community is number one, right? So if there's something that's impacting community, that's everybody as a whole. That's above us, that's above the investors. That's unfortunately above family. That takes precedence over everything. So the employees know that when they're in different situations, we call members tenants. A tenant is right underneath community, but if that tenant is uh, disrupting the community, then that's the issue, right? The community isn't disrupting that member, per se. So it makes it really easy to be able to determine, okay, which direction do I go with this? I have to protect the community, so this is the direction that we need to be able to go. So it's just a nice way to be able to, sort of, evaluate the different people and the different companies and everything that are going to, touch your your company. But
Yeah.
no, so that's one of the things that we've learned over the years. But so what are some of the processes? I guess you can say where would somebody need to be in their company in order to come to you and say, hey, look, I think I need some help. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Honestly, a variety of levels. So a couple of the companies I work for are large regional companies where I work with their leadership team. And one of the things we do is work on developing a culture of leadership. Mm-hmm. And then also entrepreneurs who are in that startup phase. I can really relate to that because I know what that process is like. And I guess the people I can help the most are the people who are hungry, right? Mm-hmm. People who are hungry for personal growth and professional growth, but not at the expense of other things that are important to them, like faith, family, or fitness, or some of the other things we talked about. So that's who I can really help, are people who are hungry that want to grow personally and professionally, but not at the expense of other things that are important to them. And for me, that's a yes all day. It doesn't matter if it's a solopreneur or if it's a Fortune one company, you know. I'll say yes to that all day, every day.
No, that's great. Now, what are some of the techniques, or I guess outcomes would be the better way that you can look at it? When someone comes to you for leadership training, what should they expect on the other side of going through that training?
Yeah. What's interesting about that is I've had a couple, probably 3 or 4 in the last few weeks. They've mentioned to me that, I was talking to my wife or my spouse the other day, and they've even said, I've noticed a change in you, like the way you carry yourself and those kind of things. So we're always looking for results, right? We're always looking for metrics to go up in business. But honestly, man, I'm looking for the whole life thing where there is a change in your demeanor. There's a change in your confidence level. There's a change in really the way you see people, the way you see other people, and really the shift that I hope to make is the way you see other people, that they are people of value. I want you to be a person of value who values other people, because we are, right? Mm-hmm. And that's at the core of everything that I try to teach and talk about. It's laced through everything. There are metrics, there's growth, and all that kind of good stuff that we try to do. But on the outside, I want to help you to become a better man or woman. And I know that maybe sound cliche, I don't know, but I hope to change the way you view the team members that you have, and every interaction that you have, that where somebody comes in contact with you, that they leave with a sense of increase because they came in contact with you. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how do you typically take, let's say that someone comes to you that you can tell that they, may not necessarily have the self-confidence. They're sort of shy, bashful, introverted, whatever you want to call it. How would you take and transform them to try to bring them out of their shell and again, give them that confidence? What does that look like?
Yeah. So there's some subtle things on my end that I would do. But really the first thing is I really, because again, most people are coming to me are leaders or entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So I help them realize some of the wins that they've had in the past. It is so easy to forget some of those things that we have done. And even on a day-to-day basis, I can forget the wins that I've had in a day, and help them get grounded in, dude, you had some awesome wins today.
Yeah.
It's not all in the weeds or not all hectic. And coming up with a process of that, one of the things we try to do is have a daily routine. But one of those things at the end of the day is asking the question of what was one win for the day. Mm-hmm. And it's not in a box, right? It's not what was my one win for the day. It's always business. I mean, it could be, I took the kids to go get ice cream today and we had an awesome time, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Really backing out of the weeds a little bit and identifying some wins and celebrating those small wins too. So helping them understand that. And then there are some things on my end where I'll reinforce. The other day I had a guy I've been working with for probably about 3 or 4 weeks. And I was listening to him and I just caught in his voice, the confidence. And I called it out after. I said, man, there is a confidence in your voice that I did not hear 3 months ago. And And the dude broke down. He almost started crying. He said, my confidence has been shaken for about 6 months. I don't know why. He said, even my wife has mentioned the crackle that's been in my voice, but that's changed over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And anyway, so calling attention to that, and I could even hear the confidence go up from there. So helping them understand some wins that they've got and getting clear. A lot of times, a lack of confidence comes from not being clear too.
Yeah,
So,
sure. Yeah, you think,
clarity.
everything's all over the place, and just like you said, helping them get grounded and realize those, the impact and the changes that they've done, in their own lives. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. What are some of the other things that you have seen, big changes, creating a leader, like taking them from here to here? Confidence is one of them. What would you say something else is that a lot of people seem to develop after?
One, a hunger to grow, right? But then what I love and why I want to work with leaders is not only a hunger for their own growth and development, but they want to become rivers and not a reservoir, right? So they become a mentor themselves. And really, it's one of the things I almost require is that if we're going to do something, that you need to be mentoring somebody else. And what's interesting is they start to do that on their own. They start seeking people that they can come alongside of, and that's been an awesome thing to see. But it's almost just been a natural outcome of their own growth. Is I want to help somebody else grow too.
Yeah, you made me realize something too, and just kind of jogged my head. Do you find that a lot of people because they know it, because they're good at this or whatever this skill set is, because they know it, they think that everybody else knows it, so they sort of downplay whatever that knowledge is or whatever that skill set is? I know that I suffer from that all the time. Like, oh, that's easy. That's common sense. Like, why would you do it any other way? But I think that's what a lot of people that do understand and are good at things, I think that's a common thing that they sort of suffer from. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I was telling a friend of mine this the other day. He's an IT guy that's just way over my head, right? And he was explaining some things like it was just common knowledge. I was like, look, that's not common knowledge to me. And what I helped him realize, that anything that comes after the just, like I just, or well, you just, that's something that comes natural to you. And if you can explain the just to other people, something that's natural to you, you can impart to someone else. And so catching yourself in the just, like,
that's interesting.
Somebody asked me a question. Well, how do you do that? Well, all you do is just.
Yeah.
For me, that's just natural. And I need to break that down. And if I can teach that and impart that can truly help somebody else. But yeah, 100%, man, all day.
Yeah. That's like I said, I know I suffer from that all the time. And yeah, funny. So if people want to learn more about you, your company, what would you say is the best way to get in touch?
Yeah. So I'm on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Love for you to follow me there or connect. Love to connect with you there. It's Cory Lee Leadership. But I've also, for your listeners, I've created a landing page specific to your listeners.
Oh, wow.
And they can go to CoryLeeLeadership.com, and Cory is CORY. So CoryLeeLeadership.com/secret. So past the secret sauce, we got the secret there. And on that landing page, I've actually got 2 free downloads for anybody who's interested. The first one is it's kind of like an assessment to see how balanced you are in your life. And then the other one is a spousal survey. So you can download that and you take it and you hand it to your spouse. And the whole point there is to facilitate good communication. One of my core values is I truly believe the world is in need of the family unit and need the family unit to be on the same page. And you're not always going to be on the same page, but at least have good conversation, be willing to have the conversations. And that's what that is about. It's a spousal survey to facilitate good conversation. So that's for you guys.
That's great. You mentioned these different templates that you have or frameworks. I'm curious, how many different frameworks do you have? I'm a huge fan of frameworks and just being able to fill in the blanks or answer questions and get some type of result. So how many different structured things do you have like that, would you say?
That is a great question. I need to put them all in a thing. I probably have about 10 or 12, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personality profiles, all that good stuff. But the ones that are my favorite are those I just mentioned, but also that 3 R's is pretty powerful. If you
that's cool too.
Yeah. I'll say one thing on that 3 R's. I know I just talked about that for 30 seconds, but one of the best ways to do that is to not write down what you say you're going to do, but look back over what you actually did and break it down that way. Because a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes the things I say I'm going to do don't actually end up being the same as what I actually did. So
yeah, that's interesting. I like that a lot. Cory, this has been fantastic. There's been a lot of nice golden secret nuggets here. So I certainly appreciate that. And, I certainly wish you nothing but success, and who knows, maybe we can do this again sometime and we'll dive deep, maybe, on one of the businesses, or actually we've been toying around. This might be a good thing too. We've been toying around with having a guest come on, and we kind of go through and have, different conversations with our different experts. So you might be a nice fit for that. That might be a fun exercise. So
that would be awesome. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Excellent. Well, Cory, enjoy the day. I appreciate it. Many, many thanks.
Thanks, Matt.